Hi everyone, it's Catherine here from Inky Finger Cat, back with another 30-day Christmas card making challenge. And today Martin's given us a sketch that I don't exactly follow. I think you can sort of see it by the end. So instead of a circle, I'm going to go for my Christmas tree, and then I'm going to do some sort of stamping, blending, inking type stuff on the top left and the bottom right to create that sort of shaping to the sketch that Martin's given us. I always find sketches like really difficult because I don't want to replicate exactly, and yeah, I think you get the sense of the sketch at the end of it. So the stamps I'm using are actually from a creative stamping magazine. They were on the desk and I wanted to use them, so that's the reason we went with that. So we start off with the big tree, which I've done in Concord and 9th ink, although I did add in. That was Rainforest Concord and 9th. I did add in a little bit of Evergreen Bough as well from the Distress Inks. Now I'm using Smoky Slate to do the stamping of the kind of speckly snow. You probably can't see this by the end of the card because I do it in Smoky Slate. It's really quite subtle, and then I go over it with a lot of ink blending, some more stamping. Yeah, probably was pointless. But this was my general theme, was to do some stamping around the corners that would create those sort of like pattern and the shape of the sketch. So then I pull in this kind of like star shape, and I do this in a hickory smoke using the Distress ink just because I wanted a darker grey, and that's the only other darker grey I've got. So I stamp that 3 times. Again, I'm not sure that they're that visible at the end. It's just some patterning in the top left hand side. So this is where I start to bring in my blending, and I use the hickory smoke. I use what's left on my blending brush at first, then the hickory smoke to just add some grey underneath the tree. I then start to go a little bit more heavy-handed, and so this takes a little bit of a turn at this point. Okay, so I'm umming and ahhing about what to do. I've added in now some green using the Evergreen Bough into the tree area. And then I think, now I want to do more ink blending because I've sort of like, I'm not happy with that smudge at the bottom. And I think, let's just go for it. So this turns into, sorry for the wobbly camera, it's just what happens when I'm quite heavy-handed with my ink blending. I'm not a light ink blendy person. And yeah, so this is me using a mixture of the hickory smoke and the tumbled glass, and I do bring in some more Evergreen Bough. I did a little bit of water splatter there. It just gives it sort of a nice interesting texture to the card. It doesn't really bleach out completely because I didn't really leave it to soak long enough to bleach it out, but there's a little bit of colour change as a result of doing that. Now at this point I think, right, well, I've totally lost my sketch, so I need to now start to bring those corner elements back in again. So I decided to stamp using the Rainforest, those sentiments that I just pulled off. It was a different Creative Stamping Magazine stamp set, again, on my desk, so why not? And I just brought those to go into the corners, just to give, again, that kind of different feel to it. I did it in the wrong colour on that one. I did it with the Evergreen Bough, and it should have been the Rainforest, so I had to restamp that one. And then I'm just using a little bit of Evergreen Bough around the corner of that just to add to that. And now we're going in with Splatter and Shine. This is like a shimmery ink. I've had it for a long time. There's not that much left in the bottle, but I think it'll probably last me another year or so. It's like a champagne colour, but because I've watered it down, it does create some water splotches as well onto the card, not just the shimmer. I don't think it comes out in the photos at the end, but in real life it looks great. So this is my card, and at first I was going to go in with this kind of like green colour that's, I want to say garden green, but it could be even darker than that. But I decided no, it worked better with this colour, which I'm pretty confident is Shaded Spruce, but I could be wrong. And that worked better. It got the more of the blue tones to the green than the yellow tones to the green, which the other one had. So there you go, quite a simple one. But now I need a sentiment that I really want the sentiment to stand out. So this is where I veered away from the sketch even more, because now I'm going to add a banner on the top. again, I know Martin will be fine with this. I think it's still fairly evident that the sketch was there. So I've just stamped with my VersaFine. I'm going to now turn it into a banner. And at first I was going to do a normal fishtail banner, but I didn't put it in the right slot in the punch. Wasn't concentrating, so it ends up being the other type of banner where it's the pointy bit, not the fishtail. It looks great. I'm happy with it. But yeah, you know when you're just like, oh, yeah, oops. So I did do that on 2 pieces of cardstock at the same time so that I could then double them up to give them a little bit more dimension. And now I've had these little pieces of twine on my desk for a few days. I decided to just use them. They're not the best colour green. It's more of a, I think they might be a pear pizzazz or an old olive. So they're definitely more the yellow tones of the green twine, but I think it's fine for what I'm using it for. And now I'm going to bring in some gems just to finish off those sort of like enamel dots. And I decided that was me done. I do make an insert after I've taken the photographs because I realised I'd not made an insert. All I did for the insert was just ink blend around the edges of the white panel just to give it a little bit of depth of colour. Nothing particularly fancy. I didn't add anything else on the inside, but just to let you know, I did do that. Hope you enjoyed this card. Please do subscribe to see more in future. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye bye.